Hello everybody, my name is Erin Zhang. I am a PhD student in the School of Computer Science at Carnegie Mellon University. Today I'll present our work on Did you know this camera tracks your mood? Understanding privacy expectations and preferences in the age of video analytics. This work is in collaboration with Yuanyuan Feng, Liu Bauer, Laurie Craner, Anupam Das, and Norman Sadeh. This work is part of the Personalized Privacy Assistant project. An estimate of 1 billion cameras will be in use globally by the end of this year. The massive amount of video data captured by these cameras motivates the deployment of video analytics technologies, which use computer software to automatically process and understand videos. Such technologies have been greatly improved due to recent advances in deep learning and computer vision, and they're becoming increasingly sophisticated. Such software can be easily applied to real-time IP cameras or stored footage from any cameras. Those analyses often happen without subjects' awareness or consent. Recent privacy regulations like the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, and CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act, included stricter laws to govern the use of video analytics technologies. The regulations require entities that use video analytics to notify data subjects and enable them to opt in or out of some practices at or before the point of data collection. There are currently no standard ways to notify data subjects that video analytics is in use. Some entities would put up signs like this, and even when signs are in place, many people fail to notice them. Additionally, such notice mechanisms are insufficient because important information about the data collection, like what type of analysis is being used, how long the footage is retained, whether the information could be shared with other entities, or the purpose of data collection is often not available to data subjects. The gap between the current disclosure practices and the requirements of the regulations draws our attention to the lack of guidance on how to do a better job at communicating those data practices to data subjects, and also enabling them to exercise their privacy rights like opt-in or opt-out granted to them by those regulations. In order to facilitate appropriate notice and choice about these different types of video analytics deployments, we first want to understand people's privacy expectations and preferences with regard to these deployments. We ask the following research question: do people know about these deployments, and how do people feel about them? Especially, we're interested in people's surprise level, whether they expect these practices at certain places or not, their comfort level, their notification preference, meaning whether they like to be notified or not, and if yes, how often they want to be notified. We're also interested in whether people would allow or deny those practices if given a choice. With these research questions in mind, we designed an experience sampling study. The experience sampling method is a research methodology which enables us to engage and survey participants in the moment as they go about their normal daily lives. As a result, this method allows us to collect higher quality, more ecologically valid research data than static online surveys. In total, we surveyed 123 participants and collected detailed responses from more than 2,300 deployment scenarios. When recruiting, we try to avoid convenient samples of students and to reach out to the local community. We ended up with a rather diverse sample. Here is a table showing all the different occupations of our participants and their respective percentages. We first did an extensive survey of news articles about real-world deployments of video analytics technologies. We identified 4 major categories in a variety of contexts. The first category is for security, which includes automatically detecting petty crime scenes like pickpocketing, break-ins, and also includes using video analytics to identify known criminals and bad actors. The second important type is for commercial uses. It's been used to count the number of people in a facility in order to optimize operations like staff management. Or it is used for targeted advertising based on demographics, individual profiles, or reactions when people are looking at items in stores. It has also been used to rate people's engagement at museums, movie theaters, and comedy clubs. The third key usage revolves around identification and authentication. Facial recognition can be used to replace work IDs, membership and loyalty cards. It has also been used to track attendance at gyms, schools, workplaces, and even churches. The last category is more advanced. Facial recognition and emotion analysis can be used by health insurance providers or hospitals and doctors to make health-related predictions, and also by employers to evaluate employee performance and model their productivity. In total, we identified 15 unique purposes and one baseline, which involves only generic surveillance with no video analytics involved. Here I'm going to briefly explain the study protocol. People will see a recruitment ad and sign up for the study if they're interested by filling out a screening survey. Afterwards, they receive an email with instructions and a link to download the study app via the Google Play Store. Participants download it and install the app on their own Android devices. The app first asks them to fill in a pre-survey where we ask them general questions about their perceptions and knowledge of facial recognition. After that, participants were instructed to go about their regular daily activities, and the app sent them push notifications prompting them to complete a short survey based on their current locations. Because the GPS location indoors is not precise enough sometimes, when they're answering the surveys, participants first confirm the place they were at by selecting from a drop-down list of all nearby places. After they selected the location they were at, the app displayed a video analytics deployment scenario relevant to the place they were visiting. For example, this screenshot shows an example scenario of a bank using facial recognition to automatically detect known criminals and bad actors. Participants then answer in situ multiple choice questions about their surprise level, comfort level, and notification preference. On the days participants received push notification through the app, they also got an email in the evening to complete a daily summary. This summary asks participants to revisit notifications they received during the day and explain their earlier choices in details and provide additional responses. This process will happen for 10 days, and participants finish the study with a post-survey. We also interviewed 10 participants. Now I'm moving on to some of the results we found in the study. Due to the length of the presentation, I'm only showing some of the results, as more can be found in our paper. Our study revealed that individuals' privacy preferences are diverse. Here is a summary of participants' comfort levels organized around the 16 different purposes we previously identified. Here, the anon means this data practice is anonymous, and ID'd means this data practice is identifiable. From this graph, it is clear to us there is no scenario where everybody feels uniformly about. People's responses vary for each purpose. For instance, participants tend to feel more comfortable with scenarios related to security. Close to 70% would feel somewhat or very comfortable with these scenarios. On the other end of the spectrum, we observed considerably less comfort associated with advanced scenarios, like health and productivity predictions, where about 70% of the time, participants feel somewhat or very uncomfortable. This shows that just telling people that video analytics is in use is simply not sufficient, since individuals' preferences vary based on the different purposes involved. One thing that surprised us a little is more people were feeling very uncomfortable with anonymous ad targeting based on demographic features than ad targeting based on identified individual records, as participants saw demographic-based ad targeting as a form of profiling. This is a summary of participants' notification preferences levels organized around the 16 different purposes we previously identified. Similar to what we have seen with the comfort levels, their notification preferences also varied based on different purposes and seem to be rather complex. For example, for purposes like generic surveillance and attendance tracking, we see a similar percentage of notifications, which is about a third, where people want to be notified every time. Even though in the comfort level graph that we just saw, we found that participants felt a lot less comfortable with attendance tracking than security scenarios. It's partly because people were at their workplaces quite often, and they generally do not always want to be notified every time. It is also natural to explore the possible relationships between these four variables. We compiled pairwise correlations between these four variables across the 2,300 scenarios collected in our study. We used Spearman rank correlation with Bonferroni corrected p-values. We found a significant relatively strong correlation between surprise and comfort levels. We also found a significant strong correlation between comfort level and whether a participant would allow or deny a given scenario. People deny practices that they do not feel comfortable about. People do not feel comfortable with practices that they are surprised by. These results are consistent with prior research. On the other hand, we also observe that correlation between allow-deny decisions and the desire to be notified seems nearly negligible. It seems that notification preferences are rather distinct from allow-deny preferences. It could potentially be because notification preferences are more complex and involve other factors, such as the frequency at which participants visit those places. Our study reviewed the general lack of awareness of the possible deployments of video analytics technologies among 74 out of 123, which is 60% of the participants, who reported they were previously not aware that video analytics could be used for so many different purposes at such a diverse set of venues and with this level of sophistication. One participant commented, "Some of the scenarios and growth of the technology you mentioned I had never considered freaked me out." Participants expressed concerns about specific usage of these technologies. For instance, one said, "I didn't realize I could be marketed to based on what I'm looking at in a store. I found the whole practice disconcerting." We also see participants who learned the benefits of this technology became more accepting. One said, "In the beginning I was very uncomfortable. However, as the scenarios came up in the study, I realized it could be helpful in my life." Now we move on to the results about how notification preferences have changed over time. We asked participants, "How would you like to be notified?" The choices range from "don't notify me" to "notify me every time." This graph shows how their preferences changed before and after the study. More than half, about 55%, ended up with different preferences. Also, at the end of the study, the majority of participants are looking for some type of selective notifications solution instead of being notified every time. We also observed that participants opt for less frequent notifications as time passed during the 10-day study. The descending line in this graph shows participants' willingness to be notified decreased. This change in preferences is attributed to some level of notification fatigue, as people got a better appreciation for the number of times they are likely to be notified. As one participant described, "I think at first when I started, I was saying once in a while, and then I realized that would be really annoying to get multiple notifications." One other participant described their fear for privacy fatigue. They said, "I've definitely been reminded through the app that cameras with facial recognition are used in many places. I've become desensitized to this practice, and in fact what I considered in some ways to be negative, because I want my privacy." Here are some examples of how existing notice mechanisms work in California, where entities are required by regulations to inform data subject data collection that is happening. For example, one restaurant provides consumers this privacy notice and give them instructions to visit their privacy policies for more details and to exercise their privacy rights. Another example is shown on the right, where a plaque notice, which is at knee level at a gadget store in San Francisco. When you accidentally came across this plaque and scan its QR code, you will find that stepping inside the store puts you in range of cameras equipped with video analytics software that estimates your age and gender. This is clearly not transparency, and people would like to be more informed when their facial data is being collected than this current option shown on the right. However, imagine if you live in California and every place you go give you a notice like the one on the left. These things can become overwhelming easily, and it's also impractical to expect the data subjects to actually type in the address for privacy policies and exercise their privacy rights. Because since even with our 10-day study, we already observed notification and privacy fatigue. Our study highlights the important needs to improve the current notice and choice mechanisms that many entities rely on. Especially, we should reconsider how notice and choice work with regard to video analytics technologies. One way is to inform data subjects important details about the deployment, for example, the purposes involved or the types of analytics used, because all these factors seem to have impact on individuals' privacy preferences. Another way is to provide more usable ways to allow data subjects to exercise their privacy choices as granted by regulations. One potential solution that came out of this Privacy Assistant project group is to build a privacy infrastructure and a privacy assistant app for the Internet of Things. Such an app running on people's smartphones would alert users of nearby IoT sensors, for example, cameras with video analytics software is enabled, and present them with potential privacy choices like the opt-in or opt-out. Users can also specify the desired notification frequencies and choose the types of data that they would want to be notified about. Because of the increasingly widespread deployment of video analytics software, this could result in an unrealistically high number of privacy notice and decisions. The high user burden remains a problem and could be a potential future research direction. This concludes my presentation. There is also a sister publication that will appear in SOOPS this August, which focuses on the qualitative exploration of privacy concerns and attitudes about feature recognition and video analytics, which complements the quantitative analysis of data presented here. Please check it out if you're interested. Thank you.